Good morning, everybody. It's time for calendar and read aloud. Here's my little marker. I can see it's on 28. If I go up, of course it shouldn't be on 28. It should be on 29. And there it is. Wednesday, April 29th, 2020. Go ahead and say that with me. Today is Wednesday, April 29th, 2020. If we wrote that with numbers, we'd have 4 for April, 29 for the day, and 20 for the year. And today is the 154th day of school, so if you're with us for math later, that's 100 plus 50 plus 4 equals 154. And our schedule today is reading, recess, then writing, math, lunch, and then we will have science later. And if you're a fifth grader, you will have writing with me also. Okay, so on our life cycles, right? This is the life cycle of an oak tree. And we don't think about trees having a life cycle, but they do. We just, in our lifetime, trees don't change a whole lot unless we plant them ourselves or we see a baby tree get bigger. But there's definitely a life cycle. So, oak trees are among the most common and important trees in North America. In 2001, Americans voted the oak as the national tree. News to me. We have about 13 different kinds of oak trees here in California. About 60 kinds of oak trees live on the mainland United States and in southern Canada. Worldwide, there are more than 600 oak species. That's a lot. Most oaks are tall, spreading trees with broad leaves. The biggest top 150 feet. And of course, they provide shade, lumber, shelter, and a feast for wild animals. So this tree happens to be covered with Spanish moss, which grows in the south. Yep, this is in Florida. Okay. Flowers begin life in a small way. David Everett long ago wrote, "Tall oaks from little acorns grow." But before the acorn, there was a flower, and the flower produced the acorn. So there it is. There's the oak flower, right? It's hanging there. Okay. Now, once it becomes an acorn, shh, guys. Okay, nice and quiet, please. Like most other plants, oaks produce male and female flowers. Wind carries grains of pollen from male flowers to the female flowers, and that pollen fertilizes the female flowers. Over several weeks, the female flower turns into an acorn. And there's a bunch of acorns lying on the ground. So, we know that if a tree grows acorns, it's an oak. The acorn is far more than just part of an oak tree, it's the seed. And once that seed gets planted in the ground, a seed sprouts into new plants. So there's an oak seedling, right? It's going to be its first 2 new leaves. Those were probably inside the seed already. And it's pushing up out of the ground. The size of an adult plant has little to do with the size of its seeds, and so it is with oaks. Even the largest of them, which stand like tall buildings, acorns are only a 1/2 inch to 2 inches in length, and oaks are very large. So here's acorns ripening on a tree, and they will fall. Now, not every acorn ends up in the dirt. We know that our native Californian Indians and probably native Californians all around the country, they would gather and harvest acorns to eat. In some years, 1 acre of oak forest may produce 700 pounds of acorns. Wow. And a single king-size oak could drop 15,000 acorns by itself. Whoa. And of course, acorns are food for some of our birds, right? And other wild animals. There's a squirrel, and that's a scrub jay, and they both eat acorns. More than 150 species of birds and mammals eat acorns in large numbers. Some of the acorn lovers are gray and fox squirrels, bears, raccoons, wild turkeys, mice, deer, jays, woodpeckers, and certain kinds of insects. Some buried acorns will sprout and grow into oak trees. It's a small one. The root will anchor itself in the soil, right? The root anchors the plant. Remember that one? I won't sing, but there we go. The stem reaches upward. The stem grows from the food packed into the acorn. So seeds, for those of you that remember when we cut the seeds open, the two first leaves are in there and the whole rest of the inside is food for the plant. Sometimes animals plant acorn trees by themselves. Squirrels and jays will actually bury acorns, and they find and dig up most of them, but not all of them. And those that they miss might sprout. As the stem grows up, it uses the food in the acorn. Then the stem's root draws food and moisture from the ground. A stem may be destroyed by shade, disease, fire, or a hungry animal, but if it survives, the stem grows into an oak tree. Okay. Most oaks are about 20 years old when they grow acorns. So the tree has to be 20 years old even just to produce its own seeds. An oak may then live for another 300 or 400 years. Some oaks live to be 1,000 years old. So here's an oak tree in a forest. It's a beautiful sun behind it. Sooner or later, even the mightiest oak falls. It may be cut down by loggers or cracked open by lightning. It may be weakened if gypsy moths eat its leaves. Holes in the tree may let disease enter. So here's the trunk of an old oak lying on the forest floor. And that, of course, becomes a home to animals as well. And fungus will start to eat it. Oak litter. So this is called oak litter, the leaves and the acorns on the ground. Oak litter, such as acorn leaves and twigs, adds nutrients to the forest. So as these things rot and they dissolve into little pieces and become dirt, that makes good dirt for other things to grow. Okay, so here we go. This is usually what we see when we're talking about a life cycle. So there's the little baby flower. There's the acorn. There it is growing, and then it might become a tree. And like a lot of nonfiction books, here's our glossary, right, which is the dictionary for this book. And there's an index. So it lists all the vocabulary words and the pages you can find them on. So when you do research, right, you don't have to read the whole book. You can just go to the place that you're looking for. All right, I will see everybody later for reading, math, and science, and my 5th graders for writing. Bye.